need a motion? Second?
Aye.
Yes, I will. I pledge.
We have Mr. Murphy. Mrs. Nowlan. Present. Mrs. Kennedy. Present. Mr. Foley-Kufar.
Present.
Mrs. Napolitano-Ferno.
Present.
Mr. Sheehan, joining us from Garcia and Garcia. Mr. Hauser.
Present.
Mrs. Poppy. Present. Mrs. Aguilas, joining us via Zoom.
Present.
And myself, Ms. Kemp, the district clerk.
Second.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Aye. I call for a motion and a second to accept the minutes of the January 27th, 2022 Board of Ed meeting. Motion? I'll motion. Second? All in favor?
I'm going to abstain because I'm trying to find out if that the president came to was on the last board meeting or if it's on this board agenda.
Okay.
So thank you.
Yes, the 25th was already approved, the regular board meeting, and I do not believe it was. The 27th is what you're voting on right now, which was the special meeting that the board called, and they participated in by Zoom. So I just want you to be clear on.
Okay, that one, I'm a yes. The one from the 25th, I'm not a yes, I'm an abstention because like I just said, I don't really know. I'm trying to find out where is that mentor? Because I want to go for a separate vote.
Recognition?
So at this time, I'd like to invite Mr. Pete Mallory, our athletic director, to introduce the students who are receiving the Suffolk Zone Awards.
Good evening. I'd like to thank the board for taking this time out to recognize two outstanding students tonight. Every year, the Suffolk Zone chapter of the New York State Association for Health, Physical Education, Recreation, and Dance recognizes two outstanding individuals from each school district with a Leadership and Character Award. And a unanimous vote and nomination was brought to us from our phys ed and health staff for the following two outstanding young people. Our first recipient is Layla Joseph. Layla currently has a 91 average. She is Vice President of Student Government, Vice President of her class. She's in the National Technical Honor Society and Peer Leadership. She is a certified National Clinical Medical Assistant. And she has stated that she's learned, one of the things she's learned most in physical education is how to lead and bring people together. Our second recipient is Ben Lilly. Ben has a 93 GPA. He's in the National Honor Society, National Business Honor Society. He is an outstanding, was, because the season's over, an outstanding varsity volleyball player. He was a team captain. He led our team to an outstanding season. He's also on spring track. He was two-time all-county tournament team. He's on the principal's high honor roll and received the Presidential Award of Excellence. He's attending Sacred Heart University next fall. Layla has a number of great options in terms of college next year, but she is still undecided. And what I'd like to say about Ben and Layla is they are just two great people. They bring a positive presence, not just in phys ed and health, but in the hallways with their teams, with their peers. They are always smiling. You'll see when they come up. These are just two wonderful young people. And I think it's important to note that the phys ed award does not go necessarily to a great athlete. It's a well-rounded person who has great character, great integrity, and really is nice and helpful within the class and within the school setting. So I couldn't think of two more outstanding young people. Ben and Layla, please come up.
Congratulations. Okay, we're moving on to discussion items. We're going to start with Jackie, who's going to talk about board goals.
This was actually for the superintendent, but she's not here tonight. I wanted to find out where we are in the way of the Board of Ed goals, district core values, vision, and mission statement update. I have been asking now for over a year and advocating to try to get some sort of new board goals, new district core values and vision and mission statement, and I'm really looking for what the update is. Does anyone have?
Oh, I think a lot of us were asking that same thing. Hopefully, when she comes back, she can give us some answers.
Okay. Well, we move on to transparency.
Yep.
Transparency is actually going to go right to the bottom, narrow down to emails and FOIL redactions. I have offered the community full transparency. People who have FOILed our emails have been able to get my emails with very, very little to no redactions. The only redactions are the legal ones with employee names, personnel, and any kind of negotiation information. So what I'm asking of this board is there a reason that others have not followed in my quest to give the community true transparency?
Does anyone want to respond to that?
I have no problems with my emails not being redacted. I'm just following legal, but I have no problems with my emails not being redacted.
I have no problem either, and I don't write anything or say anything or feel anything that could be foiled and used against me or used for any other reason. So if somebody wants to foil something and waste taxpayer dollars, go for it. You won't find anything juicy in my email.
Yeah, in fact, we've been spending thousands of dollars on FOIL, my field, so it's very political. So, I don't read hard with politics. Okay.
I've actually written in plenty of emails, Lee, to you, and very clearly to everyone, actually. And Brian, you are right, you actually do not write much, which I appreciate it. But the
I
reality
write
is,
when there's something needed to be right, not to argue and fight. But then also, in those emails, sometimes things are said where, watch out, this is going to get foiled, and that shouldn't happen because then things get foiled from a specific time period, and that is almost enticing a foil.
well, I think
there's just no reason for
I think
our
Jesse
email
can
to
let
foil.
everybody know that the FOILs that have been coming in have not been from a specific time period. They've actually been ongoing for the last 6 months. I think everybody thinks that, okay, and they've been ongoing, continuing. They haven't been a specific date, one, I read through them, so I know it's, right?
That is correct.
So not to be rude or anything, I've said plenty of times, watch what we're writing, it should be open, it should be transparent, and you guys need to, and myself included, need to not continue these emails. These emails are illegal, a lot of them are illegal meetings. They are. But they shouldn't be, they shouldn't have parents' names in them, they shouldn't have a lot of things that go on and that they do. So I'm just trying to give transparency. That's why my emails are not redacted. Anything I say in there, I have no problem sharing with the public. And again, do I think that it's good that we spend a ton of money on foils? Absolutely not. But unfortunately, if we stop emailing, unless it's something that's necessary, we won't have this issue, and that's myself included.
I was just gonna say, I'll remind you of that when we have one of the email chains going on.
Have you read my emails? Then you know in my emails how many times I've said, come on, guys, this is, honestly, can you give me that?
Oh, yeah, I can do that, but we're just wasting time, nobody wants to hear about that. It's just emails that nobody wants to read anyway, it's just, let's move on.
Agreed. Next, surveys.
1 second, Layla, Ben, if you guys want to go now, it's a good time to sneak out.
And congratulations, guys. Thank you very much for being here tonight. Congrats.
Okay, now, LaGuardia High School Music and Arts.
No, I'm on surveys, Lee.
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No. So people had requested, why did we do a survey? First of all, I found, and I wrote in an email to you guys, that I found that the survey was gonna come back inconclusive with all sorts of issues, because A, the way that it went out to the public, B, it was, the way it was done with a 5 scale instead of just a yes or no, or just a yes, no, or, undecided, or neutral. To have a 5 scale was going to create issues, which it indeed did. And unfortunately, we didn't really get the number of parents that actually could do it, because so many ran on our front. Thank you, Marisol, because if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't have been able to do my own children. So like I said, I think that the way the survey went out, I think it wasn't done correctly. I think the questions, thankfully, we looked at them first, and some changes were made. I still didn't think that they were clear. I still didn't think they were written well. We agreed to the survey because we wanted, or I agreed to the survey because I wanted to have a meeting, and was told if I didn't agree to the survey, we were not going to get 5 people to say yes to that meeting, which to me is ridiculous, because you should definitely be able to have a meeting, and all members should allow for a meeting, regardless if they agree with it or not.
Okay, we move on to LaGuardia High School of Music. They're a high school in Manhattan, and the performing arts, and that's I guess, how do they do that in Manhattan, do you know? They have certain schools they designate, like music and technology, and this particular one is music and arts, and there are a lot of performers that have come out of that program. We had middle states, we started middle states here years ago, and we got as far as Theory 1 in the music department, because you need that in order to get a diploma in music. Then they have Theory 2, now they have Theory 3. But there's more that we could do for that department. And I was questioning if we could send some people to that school, see what they do, and to bring it back. Also, I spoke to Vinny Belafonte, the head of our music department, and he likes some of the things that Hop Hop is doing that we're not doing. I think that we should look at both of those schools, but not just Hop Hop, and not just LaGuardia High School, because there is more to bring back and broaden our vision, because we have a good music department. We just might be able to utilize it a little different so they can get a true degree. It doesn't have to be a singer, it doesn't have to be a dancer, it doesn't have to be just a performer, it can be a producer, it can be many different avenues in music. And the only way we're going to get better is if we go out and investigate what's going on, look at it, see what we can do, see if we can fit it in the budget, and slowly build up, change that department around to get some more degrees. So that's my request.
So Lee, let me ask you a question. Is LaGuardia a tested in school?
I don't know enough about it, I just know it's a New York State school, a city school?
I'm familiar, but the thing is, some of these schools are tested in, or you have to do, what it's called, like, they have to audition. they have to-
You would have
certain
to,
criteria.
you have
So
to,
that,
yes.
so that school is, if I'm not mistaken, it's a testing school and audition school.
Right.
So you kind of, I don't know what, looking to take from that, but, you should not come back on another high school.
No, it is, they do have to, I did look into that, and they do have to audition for that school, and they have to have certain grades, to get into that school. But they also are doing things that we can possibly do, I don't know, but unless you go, like we did this, when we went to Sago, we saw what they were doing in science and technology, we can do the same thing for music and for any other department. So I decided to look at hot dogs, which they should look at also, but they're doing some nice things in hot dogs that I know they would like to add in their program. I think we should just take the next step and go look at both schools. And, nothing could happen, or maybe something good can happen. But if we don't look, we don't know. That's all.
Ms. Kennedy, we're happy to arrange those visits.
Thank you.
That's sort of nice.
Thank you. Okay, now we're going to go to the, start with Marisol, be smart, be kind.
Jackie, do you want it started, or?
It doesn't matter, because I actually realized that I brought it up on Board of Ed discussions on the 25th, where I believe in public I said that Mrs. Oriamo, and I'm sorry if I don't say your names right, and Mrs. DeMayo did an outstanding job as the club advisors. Ms. Licato and Mr. Rinkle did an excellent job with their initiative. The initiative was with the student council. They did excellent. They gave everybody drawstring bags. And it was very nice, the RMS, Be Smart, Be Kind, the RMS. Really an outstanding initiative, and I think it was great because the board had just spoken literally minutes before, and then like that night, I was sending the video, trying to send the video to whoever I could on the board, to say, look at this video, we were just talking about initiatives, and look, there was one we didn't even know about, it was awesome.
Yeah, I actually didn't realize that Jackie had brought it up, so that's why I added it, but RMS is doing a fantastic initiative with the kindness. Been doing it all throughout the year, where kids do random acts of kindness, and they receive buttons and shout outs that they could put on their bags. So I applaud RMS for doing that, I wish the whole district would do that, we need to show more kindness throughout the district, I think that's a great thing that they're doing.
Agreed, 100%.
Okay, move on to career day, Marisol.
So Oakdale Bohemia Middle School is hosting Career Day on April 29th from 10 to 11:30. They're actually looking for volunteers to speak about their careers. The speakers would get a table where they would discuss their careers with the students as they walk through. I think this is a fabulous thing for students to see the different careers that are possible out there, especially as they get ready to go into the high school. If anybody is interested, please contact the OPMS Guidance Department and until March 1st.
Okay, Drama Productions, Marisol and Jackie, either one, something.
So OPMS did their production of Peter Pan this past weekend, and it was just fantastic. It was great to see a live show back on stage. The students were amazing. Ms. White did a fantastic job. The parents were more than thrilled to be able to watch their students perform. It was just overwhelming. My own student wasn't on stage, but just watching all the other kids was just, it gave me chills. It was great.
So I got to go as well to the 1 o'clock show on Saturday, where I then posted on social media to let people know that how great it was, and if they could get down there for that night, it was the last show. What I found that was really something was, I was told by the principal that there was up to 90 kids that were able to participate in this wonderful production, and that they actually had, because of COVID, which I think is excellent, they had parts where 2 kids learned the same part, and they were able to perform in 2 shows. And I thought that was just so outstanding to see all of these kids be able to work together on their parts. Two people could be in a part that was, you know, Captain Hook or Peter Pan. It was just so amazing. And I have to tell you, I absolutely loved it. And when I looked around the audience, I was ecstatic to see how the parents and their loved ones and friends got to watch, and also how the kids felt on stage to have live people in the audience. It was something I had advocated last year for, and I would still strongly advocate for that, because I really believe that the virtual things are wonderful when they're necessary. But if we can have sports and we can have all sorts of going to the choruses and the music productions, we should be able to have these plays in person. And I was ecstatic, loved the clear masks, that you were able to see the kids' faces. It was just amazing. And just so you guys know, next week, this week, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, 7 p.m. is the Annie Show. So if you can get over to RMS, I'm sure it's going to be wonderful too. Also, in March, there is the production of
Adam's Family.
The Adams Family at the high school. Highly recommend you guys getting out and supporting these kids. They're working so hard to do this, and they love having people in the audience. You can just tell.
Okay. We move on to board retreat. That would be me. I was wondering if the board would be interested in learning their role a little more professionally, and to understand what you can do, what you can't do, what's appropriate, what's inappropriate. And I want to know if they want to take the time to retreat.
So I'm a yes, I asked for the retreat when I first got on the board. So,
I'm a yes as well.
I am a yes, but I'm gonna put a caveat on that, because that we're clear on something. Spending the money on a board retreat is wonderful, but Lee, you've had many, and I know Mylin has spoken up about going to a few. They're only as good as the time, effort you're going to put into them. So that goes for everybody, including myself. We can't keep on pointing fingers at other people. We have to take a look at our own behavior, because we're only responsible for our own behavior. And that's really something we need to work on. It's got to be everybody using self-reflection and professionalism, not pointing the finger saying one person's professional and someone else is not.
I don't think that's the purpose of the meeting. It's to tell you what your duties are and your responsibilities are as a board member, and what you shouldn't be doing. And it goes to all board members, and everyone is equal.
Well, then I would hope somebody who's been on the board for more than 20 years knows what they're supposed to do and not do. And I still see people with experience making mistakes, so I'm just hoping that this time,
No, it's
after a
perfect.
board retreat, I understand that, and after a board retreat, I'm hoping that we can all maybe be more, work less hostility together, less hostility.
I would like to think that as well. Okay, let's move on to.
can I just, I
You,
want to talk about two other things for board discussions, if that's okay? So the mental health committee, last month we did the screen readers, which a ton of people signed on for, so I hope that everybody was able to log on and watch and got a lot out of that. Coming up is Ryan's story. That's February 15th from 7 to 8. This is a virtual parent assembly speaking to the tragedy and the lessons of losing a child to suicide. Practical recommendations are provided from a parent's personal experience to prevent further future suicide and bullying. Yes, but Gail asked us to bring it up again today. So there's also Dr. Dewey, March 2nd, from 6:30 to 7:30. This is also a virtual presentation to the district parents on drug and addictions and the impacts that it has on the brain. So those are just two save the dates if everybody just wants to write those down. And the last thing I want to bring up is Jackie and I today had the opportunity to tour OBMS and the high school and do their computer science program, and it was just fantastic. So What the district is doing is in the 8th grade level, they're doing a push-in with the computer science. So that gives the children exposure to computer science. It lets them know what they can and cannot do. It helps them to see programs that may be available to them. Once they get to the high school and they have the electives there, they get to learn coding, which they start at a small level, and then once they get to the high school, they can build on that level. But it was just great to see.
So I took notes, and I did it like they do in high school. I wrote all over the paper, and so I'm gonna bear with me because it was really excellent. I did say that this needs to be promoted more, because the classes are excellent, and I'm pretty sure that a lot of kids don't even know about it. The benefit is it teaches sequencing and logic in the elementary school with computer science and engineering. I think that's excellent. Then you move on to the middle schools where they're doing a push-in program for computer science. OBMS today they created their own backdrop and had to program initialization. It was a great program by the students. They did a beautiful digital artwork. It was very creative, and seeing it in person was really nice to see the kids really enjoying it. Then we moved on to the high school where we got to visit 3 different courses. It was computer programming, which is next year they're going to be doing indoor drones in this unit. So really, it's excellent. It's I don't know if I'm going to say this right. Do you remember how to say that? Kidonia, that's it. There we go. Thank you. Platform, I wrote it, but I didn't want to try. Platform from grades 3 to 10. It was excellent. They were going over all sorts of loop structures and problem-solving techniques and decision structures. And then we moved on to, we went to an AP computer science principles class, which they were going over a bunch of foundation concepts of computer science and more traditional introduction to programming. It was excellent. I was told today too that the cybersecurity class is one that a lot of kids like to take because in college it's actually booming. Today they were going over 2.4 versus 5.0 gigahertz was. It was excellent what they were doing in there. I was really taken back. I actually said that for the kids who like gaming that are in grade 10 to 12, we were looking at the advanced programming, which is actually an emphasis on game-based design. I said I didn't even know these classes existed in our high school. It was excellent. We went to this new course, now this is the big one, the CompTIA A+ Core 1. That you have to do, it's the first year that you're doing it, so that next year those children can move up to the CompTIA A+ Core 2. In this, they actually have to take a test after each class, they'll take a test, and we were told that they can apply for the certification after both, which is something that they can actually leave this district and get a job making $60,000 just from those 2 classes. I was also told that this was a way that rather than send the kids to BOCES for half the day, you could actually just take these classes and still be in the school, yet doing these classes. These classes, we were watching kids taking apart laptops and desktop towers and DVD players. It was really amazing to see hands-on doing these things. I was totally impressed. I said, if I have an issue, I'm going to bring them my computer. The kids were really, really interested, and watching them work was impressive. So if you have a child at home that's really interested in, like I said, these kind of things, maybe they're not looking at classes that are more of the educational side, they want to do more of the hands-on, and that's going to be what they do as they get older. I think these are excellent for you to look into. Again, they're not promoted as much as I would love to see them more promoted, but excellent. And also, I'd like to advocate to have another teacher so that RMS and OBMS will share one so that we can dedicate more time, as we had spoken about today. Did you see coding class?
We did. That was the second class that Jackie was talking about. The first class, computer programming. The kids were using line coding, where at OBMS they started with what's called block coding, and then they would would evolve into the line coding at the high school. It was really impressive. Growth.
That's $150,000 job. That's easy.
We look, I wrote this, text coding equals high school, block coding equals OBMS. Oh, this was the other stuff Marisol we had written. Worked on animation at OBMS, they worked on animation and animating their OEO bot. The students demonstrated their animation bot and also their art scenes with conversations. They showed animation slides to us with how the bots moved. Really, it was unbelievable. I'm hoping, and I wrote, hoping to see total exposure to these programs in the future across the district.
That's excellent to hear. That's the field that that's the direction we're going in. So, I'm sorry I couldn't be there. Okay, now we move to Mr. Hauser. I didn't forget you, I knew I wanted you to have full attention to the board and community.
Thank you. So tonight, good evening, everyone. Tonight, we're going to be presenting enrollment, staffing, and instructional programs as part of the proposed 2022-23 budget. And then the fourth item I have on the list here is to review the proposed capital bond project. Mylin asked Mr. Allen and I to discuss a little bit further some of the costs, in particular the cost to the community for the capital bond project. So we'll do that last. Next slide, please. So this is the schedule of the budget process at mostly all public schools, but in particular for our school district here. We're coming close to the 90-day mark where the public will actually vote on the budget on May 17th. So the next presentation a month from now, March 8th, we will have the actual first draft of the budget to be presented. Next slide, please. I know this may be difficult to see. This is a current snapshot of our enrollment by school and by grade. To the far left, it breaks it out a little bit further, including some special education enrollment numbers and others as well. If you can see on the second column from the left, at the very bottom, the total enrollment for the school, this is as of January 28th, was 5,255 students. If you can just focus on that number for a minute, I'm going to ask Jessie if she can go to the next slide, please. And this is an actual and a projected enrollment slide here that goes all the way back to 2008. If we just take a minute and look at 2008 number, 2007-8 school year, we were at 6,961 students. And that number I just told you, that 5,255, we're down about 690 students. I think 693 is the actual number in almost let's say a 13-year period of time. If you move over to the right along this graph, there's a box that says projected by 2018 BOCES study. So this district had Western Suffolk BOCES conduct an enrollment study. If you go down to where it says 2021-22, BOCES projected 5,268 students in our district. If you compare that to that number I told you on that previous screen of 5,255, I believe if I did the math correctly, we are within 13 students of that projection. So if we continue along this trajectory here, you can see that the enrollment is projected to continue to decline before it goes all the way out to 2028-29. Next slide, please. here I might ask for some assistance from Reza, if you wouldn't mind. This slide actually zeroes in on enrollment by our elementary schools and by grade. I know there's a lot of numbers here, so Reza, perhaps you just want to elaborate a little more on this, please?
Absolutely. This is the projected enrollment for the 22-23 school year at the elementary level. We don't have kindergarten numbers right now, so we have to make assumptions, and we have made those assumptions. And based on the current enrollment and the projected enrollment, we are looking at 6 fewer sections than we have currently. Again, I want to remind the board that the board guideline, the budget numbers for classrooms was 22 at the kindergarten, first and second grade, and it was 24 at the third, fourth, and fifth grade levels. So given those numbers, this is what our projections look like. Again, this is just simply a projection. I will tell you that Cherokee, for example, has 82 kids projected to be in kindergarten. However, as of my conversation with the principal, they already had 81 individuals register in kindergarten. Last year at this time, they had in the 40 range that had registered for kindergarten. So we do anticipate that that number will be increasing. We just don't know as of when. But you can see by the numbers there. For example, I'll take you through the first line. Ospey has 35 kids projected to be in kindergarten, which will amount to 2 sections of kindergarten, and there should be a range of 17 to 18 students in that. First grade has 31, and we are again projecting 2 sections with a class size of 15 to 16. Second grade has 49. We have 3 sections there of class sizes of 16 and 17, and so on. So as you can see the numbers with the total numbers of sections there. Next slide, Jessica.
Thank you, Reza. So as Reza mentioned, back on January 8th, the board adopted budget guidelines, and in particular, the instructional staffing guidelines. So as he just mentioned, it focuses on kindergarten through second grade at 22 students and under, and for the third through fifth grade, 25 students and under. So as we build this budget, we're going to try to follow those guidelines as they align with the enrollment. Next slide, please. When it comes time to programs at the district, we are going to be taking a look at each individual program at the school, the individual schools in the district, and also the services that we provide to try to identify our priorities that are in line with the budget guidelines. We're also going to consider program enhancements, any initiatives, and district-wide goals and objectives. As we just discussed, we're going to determine enrollment numbers, which we were just discussed in our projections. We're going to review financial reports from the prior years, current year revenues and expenditures to date. We're going to take a look at our debt service requirements. And then moving over, we're going to monitor our cash flow reports, look at our revenue projections, take a look at the state and federal aid information, look at our collective bargaining agreements with each of the unions we have, look at our multi-year capital plans, and also take a look at our strategic plans as we build the budget and eventually have it presented to the community. So the fourth item I had on the agenda for the budget was to just talk about the proposed capital project. And I'm going to ask Mr. Allen if he wouldn't mind to help me here a little bit.
Can I ask you guys, did you guys make any copies for the board? Because this was something I asked for yesterday, and I heard it didn't come down until today.
I did have a copy of one, but no.
No, I mean, that's the one I had on the phone.
Thank you, John.
Sure. So At the last meeting, there was a conversation regarding the capital project and the potential implications to taxpayers in each individual household. And the questions were pretty clear. Obviously, there's always an implication to the community anytime capital work is being done. So the question is, how do we do it in a manner that's thoughtful and stays in line with long-term planning? So we do have to make some assumptions when we do look at a capital project, and I do apologize. The reason why some of the information may not have gotten out is we were still going back and forth with Munistat as late as 5 o'clock this evening. So there is obviously more information that we'll be following, but there are some basic assumptions. Munistat is assuming a 3% borrowing rate. Now, the question I posed to them was, when was the last time it was over 2.5% borrowing? They can't remember. Now, I'm sure if we tasked them with coming up with the exact year and the exact bond when it was higher, they could. But I felt that going with the 3% borrowing rate was fair, and it provided a little bit of flexibility as things may change moving forward. With that in mind, and also with the rate of state aid that we receive in the district and the percentage of this project that would be aidable, we're able to calculate that each $10 million worth of borrowing equates to $22.43 per household. That being said, we were talking about a $60 million project, so 6 times that amount gives us a total impact to a taxpayer of $134 per year. Now, this is also making some serious assumptions. It's assuming that none of the work that was presented in the capital project is being done. If no work is being done, this potentially could be a savings to the taxpayer of $134 per year. There are some items in that project that we know we can't go indefinitely without. And it's trying to find that balance between those projects and doing it in a manner that ties to the state aid that's retiring so that we're not increasing the taxpayers when it comes to capital work. It is based upon that I made the recommendations at the last meeting to move forward with the capital project. $134 is certainly nothing to sneeze at. It means a lot to a lot of people. But it does come with the assumption that absolutely none of the work is going to be done moving forward. That was part of that proposition. If we do move forward with that work, or if we don't plan for it in the capital project, we're going to have to start accounting for that in the general fund. Those type of projects are not easily absorbed in the general fund when we start talking about, millions of dollars. We don't have that kind of wiggle room in the budget to make those type of substantial reductions in the overall budget. So once again, doing it through debt service, doing it through a 15-year payback, and capitalizing on the state aid is the most thoughtful way of doing it, and it allows for the best long-term planning. Please.
How many have we done so far with these capital forms? In your form?
Well, when I began, we did I came in after the 2014 project was approved. We did a couple of transfers to capital to address specific needs in the district. And then we did a 2019 project as well.
Okay, now, I'm only trying to ask this question so we can put a perspective on, if we didn't do that, and we had to put that money into the budget, how much work could we have gotten done? And not burden the taxpayer, and not go over the 2% cap?
Oh, I couldn't answer that. I mean, I don't think it would have been possible to absorb an additional $1 million in the budget the way it's been structured the last half a dozen years. So to answer that, the quick answer is I don't know if any of the work would have been done. I think we'd be still putting together a lot of our systems with baling wire and bubble gum. We've moved way past that. The community has supported, like I said, 2 projects recently. They have changed the entire infrastructure of this district in the 7 years I've been here. There are some things that we still have room for improvement. With the retiring debt service, it is the appropriate time to have these conversations and discuss it. Otherwise, I'm afraid of the spikes that may occur moving forward in future years.
And this is the last one we can have for how many years?
So this is the last time we have a retiring debt service. I believe it's for the next 12 years.
So I just want to understand this right. This says it would be $134.62 per year for a household with an average assessed value of $45,500.
Correct.
What is the actual average assessed value of a home in Connecticut? And the reason I ask this is because I don't know anybody with that value.
So
Most houses are like in the 300s to
It's
like
in-
the 600.
So the appraised value and the assessed value are two entirely different numbers.
Okay.
This number was actually updated by Munistat today, and it's the 21-22 assessed value for all houses in the town of Islip, on
So
average.
that right there is my assessed value for my house.
I can't say specifically, but I don't think it's that far off. For for tax purposes, for tax
Yeah, no, I
calculations.
understand.
Jack, if you look at your tax bill,
I looked at it today.
if your house is worth $450, it's not gonna say it on your property tax bill, it's gonna say something closer to that.
And
So
I'm,
you can't
No, and I'm-
extrapolate the 134 times.
okay, I'm only saying it because I know what it is, and it's definitely much higher than that, but that's not because of my house, it's because people who built houses, like my house is only 10 years old, so if you built a house.
That's true,
My
too.
assessed value.
Yes.
I'm just saying that that's not a true number, because somebody who builds a brand new house in
It's an
Connecticut,
average, it's just an average.
I understand, but what I'm telling you is, it's kind of not really giving people a true number, is what I'm telling you, because people who build brand new houses, let's just say, or put big extensions on their homes or anything else, are assessed at a much different value, like mine is much different than that.
Understood. And there's no way I can go through 10,000 homes in the
I'm
Connecticut
not
district.
saying that. I'm just saying that, I'm just gonna go a number.
It's a benchmark.
If
It's a
you times
benchmark.
that times 7, I'm just saying, if you times that times 7, it's 318. I'm just saying, 318,000. Wait,
I
that
don't,
means that the taxes go up on that person's house, 942.34. I'm
Jackie,
just saying that you have to.
please-
take real
please-
numbers.
and I,
But to say that your house is only gonna go up $134 is not actually always true.
I believe, I believe,
Just for a second. I pay more taxes than say, okay, Saybrook, Oakdale, their taxes can be sometimes higher than some areas of Bohemia and Ronkonkoma. And I always thought that that had to do with the industrial areas.
No.
That had an impact on reduction of taxes depending on where you live. Am I incorrect to think that, John?
so the overall tax assessment for the district is a number that is determined by the needs of the overall community and the municipalities that feed into those tax bills. When we start talking about the assessed value, it is just a benchmark. I would be hard pressed though, and I mean this genuinely and sincerely, I don't believe there's any houses in this community that are assessed at $300,000. I could be completely wrong. That has nothing to do with the assessed value. All I'm saying is the only way to know this for sure is to go back to your individual tax bill and look and see what your assessed value is and use this as a reference.
Right, but all I'm saying to you is, for those who don't know that, I'm just saying, for those who don't know, because they may not realize it, if you're in a home that is more previously built,
100%.
your assessed value is far much more than that. And the person who lives next door could have a bigger house, a much more square footage, much more land, it doesn't matter. The person who built their house brand new, I'm just telling you, the assessed values are much different, so we're not giving people a real number, a
Okay.
hard number. What I'm telling you is, the reason that I've been so, and I have been against going from one bond to another bond to another bond, is because I feel like after a pandemic, we didn't give the public any chance to try to get a little break here in taxes going up. We have taxes going up about other things.
Yep.
I would prefer to not have to excess personnel to do things that maybe are not necessary but wanted. Things that are necessary and are a need, we have to do. The generator, necessary.
Yep.
But things that are great and I can't wait, and I, like me especially, I advocated long before I was on the school board that I wanted air conditioning and central air for everybody. I came to a meeting, I went
Yep.
through.
Understood. Yep.
4 years ago and said, this is what we need, and I still stand by that. But the question is, do you give people a chance to get, even if we, what would be the difference if we waited a year, is all I'm saying. What's the difference? It's not to say the bank's not gonna allow us to do it, we're still gonna get the same finances, the percentage will go up a little bit, right?
Possibly. There's no way to predict that. The greatest reason to strongly consider doing this now is because of the way the current debt service is retiring. So if we don't do it when the debt service retires, we are creating an additional amount to the budget that has to be absorbed, that creates multiple problems budgeting throughout. That's the only.
But I'm just saying, how we could also use that money, the money that, let's just say there's an overture of money. That money could also be used towards personnel, towards fixing things that we have to fix that are necessary. I'm just saying that I understand, I'm not against.
Yeah, I
capital projects. I've
totally
never
understood.
voted one down. I have, since I've been voting, I have voted. Most people don't vote it down because they know it's for the children.
Understood.
And what I'm saying is, it's not about voting something down or up. I'm just saying, what is the benefit of us doing it? And I hear what you're saying, but what is the difference if we waited a year? And we absorb some of that money and have that money for other things, because we do have personnel, some personnel situations and other things. We want to add positions, top-heavy positions. You got to have money for these things.
Understood. And if you're asking me for an opinion, or if you're asking for an explanation, I'm always looking for planning. One of the things I said at my last presentation was, if you look at the plant facility budget over the previous 7 years that I've been here, you haven't seen any spikes. In fact, what you've seen is a decrease. We've trimmed a lot of the fat. We've done a lot of good stuff. And the reason why is because there's been an investment from the community in these capital projects. The indirect savings is the reduction of the budget. So it has other implications as well as far as that goes. My goal, anytime I come here to talk about money, because it's not my money, and I greatly understand and appreciate that, is to make sure that we do things as balanced and as forward-thinking as we possibly can. That's my only intention.
Right, and I understand that, and I'm trying to do forward thinking as well.
Understood.
And saving jobs.
Yep,
So my
understood.
feelings are that before I personally access a person, you understand what I'm saying?
I
A person
totally
that-
do.
And before I say, let's go with bigger class sizes, I'm gonna look at something like this and say, if you wait a year, you are giving your budget additional money to try to take in some of and offset some of the financial issues we may have next year and going forward. I'm not saying put this off forever, I'm just saying what's the difference and what are the benefits versus, that's all I'm asking you. And I
Yep.
understand that you can't give that to me right now, but maybe in the future, that would be good, so for people who maybe are not 100% on board with something like this, they can see what are the benefits versus what are the drawbacks.
Can I ask a question about, what happens if the boilers broke, and those boilers are gonna be in this? And the boilers, they would have to be fixed, that's a necessity, it would have to be in the budget.
Totally honest and totally transparent. Boilers, if we have a problem with the boiler, we use Hartford Steam Boiler, and they come and they give us financial assistance through our insurance.
Right.
So we have specific insurance for the boilers. That said, relying on a boiler is a very stressful position to be in. When they're not working, or when we're waiting for Hartford Steam, we had a situation at one of the buildings where it took 6 months for Hartford Steam to finally resolve the claim and allow us to do the work, where our hands were tied. That is not a very comfortable position to be in when you know that everybody's educational process is dependent upon a comfortable building.
Look at what just happened with the generator. Some of these things, just like in our own homes, we can't be looking to say, well, this could happen, that could happen. A lot of things could happen in our own houses that just happen, and then
Yep.
you have to take care of them. That's why we have reserves for a reason. In the event that we have an emergency, these
Yep.
are things that we use the money for.
But to the point of
Can I ask you a question? So there's needs and there is wants. Now, the pool, I don't think that's a want, that is a need, that the 50-year-old pool that has seen the better days. If we were, to say, God forbid, tomorrow, there's some very serious problem with the pool, and we have to pay $3 million, that's $3 million with no coupon attached to it. And that's how I look at some of these things. I'm getting 67% back. I'm getting a coupon on these items that could be a want or a need. I don't think the pool is a want, it's a need. So say if you were separating out maybe half the bond and to do the necessary things, like the roofs or the pool, that would change the dynamic somewhat. But I know the pool has just been a cost for me, and I think that's not something we can keep holding off.
Well, and I mean, to your point, Mylan, it's, if we could attribute the failure of the pool to a specific event, it would be covered by insurance. The problem is, we know we have a problem with the pool. The insurance company knows we have a problem with the pool. The fact that we're doing a public conversation about the pool, the entire world knows we have a problem with the pool. The more times we have the conversation in public and the more times we acknowledge the fact that we have a problem, the state at certain points turns around and says, you had fair warning. You didn't do your due diligence. You didn't plan appropriately. And that's when you start running into issues as well. So, like I said, I can't speak for the board and I can't speak for the community because I don't live in the community, and I can totally appreciate the challenges that come with this. We met as a committee. We had people on the committee who were comfortable giving the community an opportunity to vote on a $90 million project. I did not feel comfortable. I did not think in my position, in my role, that it was a fiscally responsible approach to present that when I didn't have a funding stream to offset that expenditure. How we move forward is completely up to the Board of Education and then ultimately the community. I can try to come up with a better explanation. I don't know if I can, Jackie, and I apologize for that. The one thing I do pride myself is when we get to these points of conversations, capital projects, I make myself 100% available. I will be at PTA meetings. I will be at faculty meetings. I will do every bit of explanation I possibly can, but I don't know if I can give you an answer any better than I already have, and I apologize for that.
That's been my issue for, like I said, a lot of reasons that I have issues with some of these bonds is because, like I said, I want to see us have a nice new pool, especially since we have a very good swim program, it's excellent.
Yep.
But my opinion of a lot of this stuff, and it always has been, and as a taxpayer myself, is we have wants, we have needs, and we have a pandemic that's been looming over everybody for 2 years.
Yep.
Okay, March is 2 years. Businesses have gone out of business. People are out of work. People are not getting the extra money from the government assistance. I'm just saying, before we start adding on and piling onto the community, a $60 million hit, and I get it, even if you said to me, Jackie, it's gonna be $25 million, because the percentage that we get back, that's still $25 million. But it's not, we're not talking about like, Jackie, we gotta do a $100,000 improvement on a $19 million budget. Okay, this is a significant amount of money.
Understood.
And I'm just saying, in doing so, what's the difference in waiting a year to try to financially and fiscally look to get ourselves situated and make sure the things that we are doing, what's the difference? Are we gonna lose out on the bonds, or next year we could do the same thing again?
You'll lose out on the opportunity to replace debt with another form of debt. So you'll end up.
But we're gonna replace another form of debt next year. Are you saying the bank won't allow it? Or?
No, because the debt, our debt payments, our debt repayment to the bank and everything else expires at the end of next year. If we don't have new debt to support that or to replace that, what will end up happening is you're going to look at more programs. You're going to look at making different changes and everything else. All good things. Trust me, putting a teacher in front of a group of kids is what we're here for. I am all for it. My wife is a teacher. I completely appreciate it. If we don't do it during the timing that we have, when the debtor is retiring, we're going to be adding an expense moving forward. We're not going to be able to offset it with an expense that is coming off the books. So we're replacing a retiring debt with new debt so things stay static.
What happens debt, there still comes a time when the debt's paid off. It still comes a time the debt's paid off. The money goes back to the taxpayers. The money that we'd be paying for that debt would go
100%.
back to the taxpayers, correct?
And that's the calculation that we presented here right now.
I'm just saying,
Absolutely.
okay, I don't care if it's $50.
Yep,
We would still be giving money back to a taxpayer,
absolutely.
correct?
Correct.
Okay, and on top of that, we would also be able to possibly offset accessing a personnel, correct?
Depending on the structure of
Depending
the,
on the
Yeah.
board and the cabinet.
all the variables that Mr. Hauser pointed out. Absolutely, yes.
I'm just saying, I have to look at the livelihood of persons
So look at
and
the livelihood
people.
of.
that
I agree.
Versus what we need. We need a pool, we gotta do it. If we want something, it's a little different. We gotta put it on a different scale because people's livelihoods could be at risk, and I have a problem with that. And that's been a discussion, that's the only reason I'm even bringing it up.
Okay, and to that point, there is a sequence of events that has to take place in order to even go forward with a project to the community. If you're saying you need to see the entire budget in its entirety to see where we stand and whether or not we're going to be losing teachers and to what extent and where, before you can make a decision on a capital project, I fully understand and respect that, and I think the community will also feel the same way when they get to the booth and they vote. Because of the sequence and the timing and everything else, though, we have to do it along the budget process so that we can do the notifications, so we can do the public announcements, so we could do all the postings that have to happen. But to your point, we just did a very quick summary of enrollment. We now have to take all of that enrollment and we now have to put it into a real line budget item for yourself and the rest of the board to understand what is the implications. You very well may turn around and say, we're going to cut this project, and that is absolutely your prerogative. I'm not sitting there saying it's not. I'm just cautioning to not replace retiring debt with new debt.
Well, here's my thing, how many years would this debt be on the books for us?
15 years.
Okay, so really, when you say to people, it's only $134, it's really not, it's 134 times 15.
100,
Plus,
exactly.
plus, that's only for people whose houses are in that assessment now.
100%.
For the rest, I said the rest, but for those of us whose houses might have been a newer or on the water, or whatever the case may be, that have a higher value, you're going to be losing out. I'm just saying that we have to give real numbers. When I see this, I always feel like it's intentionally for people to look at quick and say, yeah, it's only $134.
Jackie,
No problem.
and because it's something that I feel strongly about, and I'm going to have to go in front of the community with at some point if the board does go forward with it, what would give you that confidence? Because if I can't get your confidence, I feel like we're going to struggle with the community as well. So, no, but
Can I just ask a question? So if we don't adapt this capital project and we do it next year, it would get rolled into our debt, correct?
so the debt will,
Into the budget. It would get rolled into the budget?
the debt would expire after next year, and then we would end up sitting, then that monies would be allocated or reduced and given back to the taxpayers, depending on the ultimate decisions with the
So
budget.
Jackie, that 45,500 is average throughout ISLIP. It could be plus or minus pennies.
I understand.
Some houses could be
I'm
47,000.
just saying the way that we're portraying this to people, I feel like there's a sales pitch. And I'm just saying, I personally, when I look at a $60 million, after we just had new ones, I feel like it's never ending. It's kind of like, oh, we're retiring it, so, hey, we have the money, let's just move on to the next one.
But I don't think they're presenting it in numbers that are far off. It's not like, oh, assessed value really means whatever. The assessed value is correct. So it really is $22.43, plus or minus a penny on the dollar. So those numbers, they're not far off. We're not trying to like blindside anybody.
I would suggest people look at their tax bill, look at the average that John proposed here, and see where you're at. And then you can make a decision. Also, I think we've beaten a dead horse here. John has said everything that he possibly could say on the subject for now.
Can I ask a question?
During the public comment, sure.
So, Bob,
What would happen if we don't?
Can I ask you a question, Bob?
You know I like to give you a little bit of research.
Yes, okay, how long?
So when we look at the declining numbers, so say from now until the end of that presentation, the year 2028, which is only about 6 years from here, we're gonna be losing 504 students. Is it possible, and I'm sure Linda has the notes, for the last 7 years of our staff increases or decreases, can you, sort of give us the trending numbers, what it looks like, so while we have this nice graph of the unfortunate decline in enrollment, is it possible that we can see that reflected in our staff? How much staff we had, say 10 years, and then maybe presently, so that we can sort of see in that perspective how the district is declining overall?
Mylan, this is Reza. If that's the will of the board, then I will certainly put that together for the next board meeting. But that would be a decision that comes from the Board of Education.
Yeah, because I see enrollment declining, but I'm always seeing that we're adding more staff. So I understand that some retire, some we've created new positions. I just want to see the overall of how we were 10 years ago to now, as far as that piece goes. Are we increasing in employment but decreasing enrollment? I think it's a fair question to ask.
Is that something the board would like me to put together?
Yes.
Okay, I'll have that for you at the next board meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you, Reza.
So, and I'm sorry I'm taking up so much time. That's certainly not my intention. Jackie, I hear your reservations, and I would greatly appreciate it if you could help me to better understand what it is that you're looking for, because I can tell you in all honesty, I want to be nothing more than transparent. I don't want to do a shell game. I don't want to mislead people. I truly want to be as upfront and honest as I possibly can. So maybe separately outside of the board meeting, you and I can go back and forth and come up with some different calculations, maybe take a sampling of 20 random houses throughout the district. Whatever it is you think we need, we can, I would prefer to be able to do that together as opposed to, perfect.
Number two, you just make arrangements and sit down and do that part to make her feel more comfortable. Thank you.
How long has the pool been in this, shape? Yeah. Right, and then $60 million, right, we have, talking about the needs and the wants.
Okay, now we're going on to,
On the school, with the priority.
now we're going on to consent agenda items.
So I think public comment next.
For consent agenda items only. Where, in what? This is for the consent agenda, not.
Because I wanted to know about this consultants issue, and I've been told that the board has no say. How is that an issue? How is that even possible?
So the question on the table is regarding a mentor that is being approved for an administrator in the district, and Ms. Napolitano-Ferno is not happy with the individual or whatever the rationale is. Okay.
I'm not happy with the fact that I feel like it's an insult. I think when you have people who work in this district for eons and eons and decades, and then take a position or promotion and have been doing a job for a few years, I think it's insulting and a slap in the face, in my own opinion, to then say, okay, now we're gonna give you a mentor. A mentor after a pandemic, after a person has, I think, done a good job. So I'm highly opposed.
It is the position of the superintendent and the cabinet that the individual you're speaking of has moved into a new position. He has never fulfilled that role before, and we feel a mentor would help him along his path. We absolutely think he's doing a great job.
Well, I think paying $700 a day to a mentor for somebody who's been working in this district for well over 2 decades, and then has been in a position for a few years, working through the pandemic, rising to every occasion, and people being happy with that person and that position, I think is a real issue. And I don't know how the Board of Ed doesn't get a say on spending $700 a day on somebody who I personally feel does not need a mentor.
Mr. Hauser, correct me if I'm wrong. Mr. Hauser, correct me if I'm wrong. This is through a COSER. The individual is a consultant with BOCES. So the money the district spends on the individual, we do receive money back because it's through a BOCES method, correct?
That's correct.
And how much do we pay BOCES a year? Overall total?
I would have to get to that
That really
number.
doesn't have anything to do with the issue.
No, it actually does, Brian, because we pay BOCES. The only reason we get money back from BOCES is because we pay a significant amount of money to BOCES.
But there are several services at the school district.
And the consultant is only for 10 days, I believe, right? Isn't it that how-
I believe it's a limited portion of time.
I want to be on the record for being highly opposed after, like I said, if this was an issue, it's an insult. That if for the last few years, the person does a good job, how do you give them a mentor then? And the mentor should have been there in the beginning. This doesn't take a genius.
There's also something called professional development.
And there's also called, did you speak to the people and see if they actually want or need that professional
It's
development?
not, you know,
Professional development should be something that they want. It should not be something that you stuff down.
How would you know if they wanted to know?
I don't know, Lee, maybe we should have asked. Isn't that a good idea?
Well, you know, again, as it
Sounds like
it is the decision of the superintendent and her cabinet to have a mentor assigned to the administrator. I will note your objection. I will let the superintendent know, but this has been discussed with the board for a couple of weeks now.
Okay, and I would like legal to look into how these funds go out from the district, regardless if OC pays for it, and the board has no say over it, considering we're supposed to be doing our fiduciary responsibility.
Okay, now I'm going to open the floor. This is the first public comment portion of the agenda. The public comment period is for consent agenda items only. An additional public comment period will be held later in the meeting. Okay, please raise your hand if you have any questions or comments on the consent agenda item only. Ma'am?
I have a question for John. I know he's sitting there talking to someone. I just want to understand, when you're saying that the debt is going to expire, so we will no longer have that payment anymore, that's correct?
Yeah.
So we won't be able, again, to add a payment to the,
60 million.
to the budget, right? So
Correct.
you're worried about the debt expires because of the 2% cap. We won't be able to add another payment onto the budget again, that's correct?
Correct.
That's really important. Like, if we don't have that bill anymore, we're gonna cut the budget by that much, we're never gonna be able to add it back on. We can't do that. Like, it's just, it would be terrible for the district if we do that, because they've limited us to a point that's, it's just not survivable on Long Island. New York State is not one thing. Long Island's one thing, upstate's one thing. If we cut that, we're gonna be in big trouble. And the pool's a disaster.
The pool's a disaster.
I just think 60 million is a very high capital bond. I just feel like we never get it, but we never get the community.
Okay.
When you work in like public sector, it's not a lot in the whole scheme of things that are gonna be fixed and things like that.
Thank you. Any other comments on consent agenda?
So does it have to be the whole 60 million or nothing? Can we?
Well, I think, John, can you speak to this? He really wanted more, but he limited it to, go ahead, John.
Can we do like Ms. Turner was saying and not do the air now or?
So that is entirely up to the Board of Education. What transpired was in September, the district convened a facility advisory committee made up of members of the community, some administrators, and a variety of other people. They came out of that somewhat mixed. Some people said 60 million is the max, nothing more. Other people said, you know what, we really should let the entire community voice an opinion and go as high as $90 million. I took all that information, and with conversations with Cabinet, with reflecting on the budget, with seeing some of the conversations that have transpired since I've been here, I felt that presenting the $60 million that the facility committee had recommended was a fair presentation from the facility committee. That said, it's ultimately the Board of Education's decision as to what they want to approve and if anything at all.
But if we lower the amount, then we're gonna be lowering the future amount that we able for generations to borrow, correct?
So one of the questions that Lee asked was, if we don't do it when this debt service is retiring, when the next debt service is retiring in the district, and I believe it's 12 years. So any other projects that move forward will be done at full cost, without an offset existing in the budget. Yep.
Sorry, I have a question. You mentioned that roofs on the school have to be done. Then you said they wanted to do turf, like with something with one of the ball fields or something, and football fields, and pool and everything. I keep hearing pool, pool, pool. I would think a roof on a school would be more priority than repairing a pool.
So the roofs on the secondary schools are all in bad shape. They're not leaking like sieves. They are problems and they're liabilities. So that said, the pool is, and I hate being so blunt about it, but the pool is falling apart. Last year, we were putting about 6,000 to 8,000 gallons of water in it every day because we had cracks in the pool. We thankfully had a couple of maintenance mechanics who were tenacious in addressing it, but we had to take the pool offline for over a month. They fixed it, and we're holding water. But if you've been in the pool, if you know the pool, if you know the system, if you've seen the basement and you look at the steel structure underneath the pool, it is a very, it's coming, plain and simple. I don't know how else to say it. That expense is coming, or we're going to be filling the pool in. And knowing how swimming is to this community and how much it's been a community, center for so long, that's why we're proposing doing it now.
I have a John over here. I'm sorry, I have one clarification. So the 60 million will be just for the pool?
No.
That's where I'm lost here a little.
No. If you look at the agenda, I don't know if you have a copy of the
Yeah.
agenda. The agenda itemizes everything that we're proposing at each of the buildings. There's a couple of buildings that have boiler replacements. We have the roofs at 3 secondary schools. We have adding air conditioning in all instructional, all classrooms and offices, not large spaces such as the gymnasiums. But yeah, so there's a laundry list of stuff. There's some site work. We have some parking lots that are in very bad shape that haven't been addressed as of now. So we're going to be able to address some of that. There's a very detailed list in the agenda. It's underneath what they call the SECRA. The SECRA is the State Environmental Review. It makes sure that there's not going to be any environmental impact to any of the projects that we do.
Oh,
And
thank you.
that's part of the agenda tonight if the board chooses to go forward with.
Thank you.
You started to give us a list tonight, but we don't have it in a PowerPoint presentation of what you'd like to do. That would be appreciated. Also, what is the state giving back now if we bond this?
67.6%.
That means that's what we will get back, and if we don't bond it, we'd have to take it out of our pocket 100%. That's what you did say.
If we're not borrowing it, well, that's what I was saying is, that figure that I gave you is assuming that none of the work is done. That is the only way that amount goes back to the household, or has an opportunity to go back.
I know it's different on each project, but we would get approximately like 57% back.
67.6,
67?
and the architect has already said that all the projects that are being proposed at this point are fully aidable. And I will, you know, once we move forward from tonight and we see the direction that the board's going to go, I will have all that information. The last project that we did, I created a bullet by bullet point and scope of work for every single building. We made placards, we put them in each of the lobbies of the buildings, just so that the individual residents and the people that utilize those buildings know what's happening in their respective buildings. All of that information is going to be readily available, and I am not shy about it. I'll put the individual price to each and every single initiative at each and every single building, because it's the information. It's not, you know, it's not anything more than that. It's just information to decide upon.
So if you end up having to do environmental impact stuff, as far as like water undermining around the pool, maybe loosening soil, electrolysis from maybe water, corroding metal, and electricity in there, mold in the ceilings and stuff like that because of leaky roofs, that could offset the possibility of this being more money. And then two, when was this budget proposed? Because this sounds like a number that was kicked the can down the road for quite a few months, I feel like, from these meetings that I've been coming to. Because my only question to that is, if it's more than $60 million for all these projects that you have, there's a production issue problem, there's transportation problem, there's a lack of material. I don't know if you've gone into many stores lately, but shelves are actually bare. So you also have a problem in the fact that if you got to get electrical panels for any of these HVAC things, there are places where things are over a year on back order. I know I buy material, electrical products for these things. You have to get custom-made panels. They're back ordered 52 weeks for certain things that are not difficult panels to make. So this whole entire budget, I think, is probably a lot more. Do you have bills of material for every single project, so you know exactly how much these things cost, so you know where they're coming from? Do you have the cost labor for all these things of the companies that are going to be doing the work? Is there general contractor cost? Do you have all of those things in an actual huge slide that you could show us for a budget for each of these in particular projects to cover the $60 million that you want us to vote on?
For every single line item? No.
Yes, because you know what? It's because those things are going to go up. Because if this is the thing that was proposed back in July, everything that you have proposed back in July that you may have gotten a quote for has gone up a lot, a lot. I've been buying things for my company for the last year, and I've been watching how hard it is to get. It is not easy to get, and the cost of things have tripled and quadrupled.
And you're absolutely right. And the whole purpose and the whole way to get ahead of that is to be thoughtful and plan for it. If I had to do something immediately and I couldn't be thoughtful and plan for it, we're going to pay top dollar. If I could sit there and do my architectural plan, send it up to SED for approval, and make a plan to do it next year, I could get in front of it, I could bid it out, and I could be the most competitive price I could possibly get. All of what you're saying are absolutely true.
What I'm saying is this $60 million guesstimate based off of the best idea of how much everything is going to cost, including all the environmental impact stuff that may actually have to happen.
So the environmental stuff is only when you're going to increase your footprint exterior. That's the only time the environmental piece comes into play.
But what about mold? Wouldn't that be an environmental impact if they have to get rid of black mold or anything like that because of any kind of leaks in a roof? I mean, that's not increasing the footprint, but that's inside the footprint of something that can hurt people's lungs.
If we're talking about replacing the roof, it also talks about replacing the insulation, so we're going down to the deck. So any mold or anything else is going to be brought on the contract like this. And that's the way it's been. So
Like an asbestos removal, God forbid there's something, I know what you want.
Yeah, so we've absorbed that, and one of the things that the architect does, and it'll be on all the slides, and he puts it on all the slides that he's presented up to this point as well, there's an 18% soft cost, because not all the work is done in year one. It has to be done over a 3-year process at the quickest, and because of that, there's a cost multiplier each year. I can tell you we're just finishing up a $46 million project, and we are on project, and we're going to have another extra money left at the end. I know the times are changing. I know there's a lot of pressures, a lot of things are changing out there. I can't control that. I absolutely can't control it. I will have a line by line for every single expected cost in the project. I'm not going to sit there and say this auditorium is going to be $100,000 electric, $200,000, media center, $1 million GC. I can't do it that way, but we can tell you that on a square foot, the most recent auditorium that was done, we know what the square foot cost was, and then we can extrapolate that and say, we're going to do it 3 years from now, we need to add 9% to that. But the best I can do at this point I mean, if there's specific questions, and obviously you've got a lot of experience in the industry, I mean, if there are things that I can gain and I can share and I can learn from what you have to say and how I can better present it, I'm all in.
I'm just saying, as of right now, do you really think $60 million
Mr. Allen?
tackle everything that you want?
I think at this point, we'll put something together that the community will see. Mr. Allen is going to different schools? Is that right? You're going to different PTAs to explain all this? Okay, thank you.
Any other questions on different consent agenda items?
I do have a question. Was the survey on the consent agenda items or no?
I have no idea what happened to the survey. On the consent agenda, it wouldn't be, and our superintendent's out, so I have no idea what happened.
Well, do we have the numbers to give the community transparency?
No one ever gave me any results.
So Dr. Adams said she was gonna give us the results, but because she's been out, we haven't gotten the results back yet.
So does anybody else on the cabinet have the results? Or can you get the results?
I don't know that we can get them. I don't believe that any of us have them.
So we can't ask, like, regarding the survey, I guess we have to wait till Linda Adams is available to wonder why after all my children have gone through the school district for years, and we've had dozens of surveys, and they've been very simple, that it's just odd to me that this survey happened to be so complicated. I just
We will
seems a
definitely
little
wait till
sus.
Dr. Adams is back and available to comment on it.
I mean, all I know is that, and I spoke to her, she gave me numbers, so I know there are numbers.
I will touch base with her tomorrow to see if the numbers are available, and we will get back to you.
Well, I did send an email questioning her why all of a sudden this survey happened to be so complicated over all the other surveys we'd had over all these years, and I still haven't gotten a response yet. So I guess I'll have to send another email or two.
Okay, we're gonna move on because we don't have an
Of
answer
course.
for you. So I'm gonna go on to personnel items. Need a motion and a second to approve the instructional and non-instructional personnel items as presented.
I wanted that to move for a separate vote, please.
Well, what number?
Oh, I asked for it in executive. And for the position, so I'm not gonna vote yes to no matter who is on it.
So, trustee Napolitano is pulling item number 5 from the instructional schedule.
Okay, we'll do that separately. Can we do that first? Okay, need a motion and a second to approve number 5.
Motion.
Second. All in favor? Aye.
No.
Okay. And the motion?
Mylan, I didn't hear your.
And I just want to let the public know that that was a vote for the new director of guidance at the high school. I know she is not available tonight to be here, but she is watching on YouTube. So we did want to congratulate Ms. Jessica Yoni Kohler, and hopefully she'll start with us soon.
Very good. I need a motion and a second for the rest of the personnel schedule. Motion? Motion. Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion so carried. We move on to financial matters. Call for a motion and a second to approve items 2 through 8.
I be pulled as well, the capital reserve. Proposition, is that the one for the bond?
So that's on the consent agenda. These are, right now you're discussing the financial reports. Right.
Okay. Need a motion and a second?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor? Motion so carried. Okay, consent agenda. Which number?
Trustee Napolitano is going to pull item number 6 for a separate vote.
Okay. So item number 2 through 14 minus 6, I need a motion and a second.
Motion.
Second. There's more than 6.
Number 7 is a capital reserve in which the board consented to Mr. Allen and Mr. Hauser at the last meeting to move forward with creating that reserve.
Second for 2 through 15 minus 6.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And now we go. Motion so carried. Now we go to number 6. I need a motion and a second to approve number 6.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Abstaining until I get more information.
Okay. Now we're going to move on to public comment portion of the agenda. I will call individuals forward one at a time. Please wait for my acknowledgement before stepping up to the podium. You should have received a numbered card from security on your way in. If you have not, please see a security guard in the back of the room. Anyone wishing to address the board shall address the board president only. Comments should be kept as brief as possible and relate to school matters. Each person will be limited to 3 minutes for one or more topics. Members of the audience speak at a turn. The board will take an immediate recess until order is restored. Any specific questions asked will be answered by the appropriate party and posted to our district board docs page, which can be accessed through the district's website. If you have a specific question and would like an email follow-up, please complete the card at the podium with your name and contact information. Once completed, please provide to the district clerk. I'm going, before I call the numbers, we have received some letters from some community members, and I didn't understand what they were about. I was told, gave me the topic. I forwarded the topic to our attorneys, and I'd like Mr. Sheen just to tell the community, so if anyone had any concerns, we could erase them before we even start. Mr. Sheen, would you like to share?
Yes, thank you. So we did receive some questions concerning an emergency rulemaking that was listed in the New York State Register on February 2nd, 2022. The emergency rulemaking involved a rule to expand the scope of service for a registered nurse that would provide on an emergency basis the ability for a registered nurse's practice to include the provision of a COVID-19 vaccine. This does not relate to school district service. This is a general rule relating to the scope of practice of all registered nurses pursuant to a non-patient specific order.
So this has nothing to do with schools?
That's correct.
Yes, it does. That means that the school doctor writes out the order to give the kid the vaccines that they didn't get for the year, whether it's COVID or TB, and they all of a sudden administer them in the building. That's exactly what that means.
Okay, I need number one. Number one?
Exactly.
Number one?
HPV shots, which parents are against.
Number one?
And parents consent.
So I've been speaking several times lately in the past few meetings, and one of the previous times Hello? Sorry. That's okay. I had presented a challenge to you at one point as a board, and the challenge I presented to you was to provide us, the community, the data that supports and proves the necessity of masks and vaccines in our children. Because if you follow the science, not what Fox and not what CNN is telling you, it doesn't exist. In fact, all this stuff that CDC said that all these decisions and mandates were based on, they themselves have now reversed. So the very people that you were listening to to enforce these mandates, now took that stuff and reversed it, what they said on it, yet we're choosing not to listen to them now. So that was the challenge I presented to you. But as a teacher, I often use, I don't know, sayings, whatever you want to call it, motivations, motivational messages or just themes. And mine tonight is, actions speak louder than words and feelings. All right, it was said by this board, I don't know if it was on the record or off the record, that the majority of you are actually in support of choice regarding masks and mandates. And I applaud that. Thank you. But, again, actions speak louder than words and feelings. So my challenge to you is, I have connections on other boards. I'm a teacher, districts, for a while now, and it seems that, I don't know what the percentage is, 50-50, 60-40, but it seems that there's a lot of boards that are in favor of choice. So, with my theme, my challenge to you is, what actions are you taking? Are boards across this island in contact with each other? Because it almost seems to me that a summit of Board of Educations should be held. Because it seems to me that districts are afraid to step out and be the first to say no to Hochul. They don't want to be the ones that sticks their necks out. So if it was a concerted effort amongst the boards who do feel that way, I think it would be a much better and effective presentation of that. To say, hey, on this date, if you feel this way, we're all out. Because to stick your neck out there, I get it. But again, it comes down to funding. And if we do it all together for those people who are in agreement, I think it's a better presentation and hopefully more effective, or would be more effective. But again, I'm kind of off the cuff tonight, but real quickly, there's about 50 people in the room, and I'm looking on the live stream, there's about 115 people looking. So pardon my back, but I'd like to challenge the people in the room and the people at home also. Okay, so I'm addressing you and the camera. Okay. I'm just, for the people at home also, because there's only 115 of you watching and 50 here.
You've been asked to address the board.
Okay, because you often give us the response, but that's okay. So I'm challenging the people at home also to do something, because 115 people at home, and there's about over 1,000 people who are following the live feeds, that are subscribed to that on YouTube, and to only have 115 people, I'm challenging them at home too. The time is now. Again, actions speak louder than words and feelings. So let's try to get something done. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I heard the bell.
I just want to address this, that you hear it from me. And I know we're not supposed to answer, but I'm going to. Mylin and myself have been on several Zooms with other districts on our own personal time, not as to speak to other boards to see what they're doing, for our own personal knowledge when we're on our board. I have specifically been on a thread and a message with several other boards across Long Island. We're in constant contact with them.
Number 2.
Good evening. My name is Jennifer Ronayne. I'm both a parent and a second grade teacher here in Connecticut. I'm here to tell you that enough is enough. Hindsight is always very clear. We could already look back and know that the lockdowns were ineffective. We too will look back on this and know that the masks were ineffective. However, I don't need hindsight. I can tell you what is happening in my classroom right now. These masks, COVID protocols, all of it has had a negative impact on the learning environment and our children's mental and physical health. I don't need hindsight. This is a fact right now. On the day we had a choice, something very powerful happened in my classroom. Something that is lacking today in this community, this state, and in this country. And that is respect. My students came in masked and unmasked. I showed and greeted them all with a great big smile as they entered my classroom. There was clearly a sense of confusion among them. They didn't understand why today some people have them on, some don't. I simply explained that today your parents and you have been given a choice. In this country we have freedoms, and one of them is choice, and today you have that. I told them, but more importantly, whatever you choose, we must respect each other's choice. And remember to always show kindness and respect. Those 7 and 8-year-olds, they got it. They carried on for the rest of that day with that same spirit of respect, and it was an amazing day. I saw smiles that I have not seen in a very long time. Not to mention the overall atmosphere in my classroom was lighter. I heard children say things like, wow, this whole day is like a break. Does this mean we don't have to worry about COVID anymore? Does this mean that things are normal again? Not to say that we shouldn't be teaching them ways to stay healthy. Of course, that's what we do as teachers. But we can't be burdening these young, impressionable minds with a constant reminder of sickness and death. We have to ask ourselves, what are we doing to these children? We cannot continue to push fear on them. We cannot continue to restrict them from being able to hear and converse freely with their classmates. We cannot continue to distance them. Ask yourselves, when does this end? Now, one of you sitting up on that panel is a medical doctor, scientist, or virologist. What you and I are educators and parents. It is not up to us to make medical or politically based assumptions or decisions. That is not our area of expertise. Education is where our focus should be. Leave the medical decisions to parents. That is not our role, and it is not for us to decide. Get back to education, give parents choice. Keep the politicians out of our classrooms. How is it right that we're demanding our children to be forced to mask and vax in order to protect adults? Who is protecting them? That should be us. That is our job. That is why I am here speaking. That's why you're on that panel. That's what we're to do. Don't wait for politicians to grant you permission to do what is right for children. Make the choice now. Advocate as educators and parents. That is our job. Enough is enough. We don't need to wait for hindsight. We know it now. Thank you. And for those of you who have been speaking up, we are so grateful and we truly appreciate it. Your heart is in the right place, and you will look back on this and know that you made a difference. But that moment is now. You need to speak loud, get those voices heard. It has to happen.
Number 3?
Hi, my name is Melissa Berlisi. I sent you guys an email several weeks ago. You know, we have this whole mask debate. It's a fact, it's science, masks don't work. Why haven't we called a certified industrial hygienist in? They specialize in this. It's Dr. Stephen Perry, who I've personally spoken to. You can look him up, talk to him. Masks that you have on right now only protect 5 microns and over, minimally. Anything 5 microns and under, they do absolutely nothing because it's aerosolized. The COVID-19 virus is 0.09 to 0.1 microns, rendering everything that you have on your face useless. What we should be discussing is what are we doing for these students so they can stop wearing them, other than masking them. There's so many things out there, and there's something simple as a ventilation that can be put on all of our systems for $800 that will protect, that goes on to up to a 12-ton unit. Okay, $800 per 12-ton unit, and it gets rid of COVID at 99.9%. And not just COVID, any virus or bacteria. So for any of these parents who are out there that are afraid because their child's immunocompromised, they're living with immunocompromised people, and the parents who want to say no more masks, we can say to these people, listen, we're installing these units that's going to clean the air. And it's not just for COVID. We have to worry about the flu. This will go moving forward. If something like this happens again, we can step back and say, wait a second, we have something in place that's going to protect our children. We don't need to mask them again. So I'm asking you to please, I emailed, I didn't get a response. I'm asking you to please look into this. Contact a certified industrial hygienist. They will come in, they will tell you what we need. Again, moving forward, let's get these masks off and let's protect the children who are still afraid because of immunocompromise. Thank you.
Number 4?
Hi. I wanted to just say about the bond that I can remember going through this not too long ago with the last one and the libraries versus again, the wants and needs, I couldn't agree more. There's stuff that has to be done, Mr. Allen's saying the roofs and things has to be done. The pool, I think, since I swam in that pool, needed to be done. I don't know how many, decades ago. So certain stuff just has to be done, but I'm certainly in favor of chiseling it down a little bit. I don't, maybe it doesn't have to be a $60 million bond this time. Certain stuff can just be put off. The air conditioning, I'm confused about. I feel like there's, a few weeks in the beginning, a few weeks in the end. Are we saying to air condition everything at the entire district?
Well, let me just jump in there. It's because of global warming or the environment that they have considered that their summers start earlier. And if no one wants it for their children, just say so. Not do it.
Yeah, well.
The winters start later and summer starts earlier.
Okay.
That's why it's proposed and it benefits children.
So maybe that's one of the things that can be put off a year or two or whatever it may be. The other thing is whether, I couldn't agree more with so many of the comments that are made about the masks and not masks. Thankfully, it looks like we're getting to somewhere where maybe it's coming to an end as far as the masks. I think COVID will be around forever in different forms, but it looks like we're getting there. So please, I feel like we've wasted so many hours of, especially the volunteers, time on this, when we have big, many other school issues. Talking about taxes and things tonight, we were just looking at our bill, and I'm paying $166 a week in school taxes. I don't begrudge it. It's the district we chose to live in. I don't want to spend excessively, but I don't expect to be paying, the paid administrators to be sitting on this mask thing constantly. It's not a school, the problem or the discussions need to be with the state or Hochul or whoever the heck. I'm pleading with you, please, enough of it. Just don't engage in it anymore. Do the school business that needs to be done. Educate the children, do the policies.
Speak there 3 minutes with no cackling. She gets to speak first.
Thank you. Do, your policy making and adhering to that stuff and all the important stuff that has to be done. The masks is not the only thing. It's not a school district's fight. It's not your fight. Fight it where it needs to be and go for it. Do what you think is best for, for your kids. But that's enough. We're spending enough tax dollars for you guys to be doing great things, and there's a lot of great stuff that's, this time is being taken away from that. So please, get back to academics.
Hello, my name's Christine. How you doing? We all pay taxes here, and as part of that is, yes, to do stuff around the school and everything, but our children come here, okay? So our children that come to the school that need to be educated, these masks are affecting their education, so that does have something to do with what goes on with the board. Okay, that's one. Number two, you guys have to go by whatever Hochul or Adams say, correct? Like, this is, everybody's following their go-to, right? What they say, and, right, do as I say? Question. How is it that our governor, our mayor, they can walk around no masks on, right? They can be perfectly fine. If you want, I'll hand out the pictures to you guys too, but you can find them probably very simply. That they're out in public, no mask on. I love these especially. Do you see who's wearing these masks? The children are wearing these masks, okay? They're not wearing them, but the children are. And this is my favorite. That's Hochul right there. Do you see all these adults? Do you see those little children that are wearing masks on their face? Okay? If you actually think that this is okay, then you're all part of the problem too. All we're asking for is choice. If anybody wants to wear a mask, wear it. If you don't want to, you don't have to. That's all we're asking for is a choice. We're not telling you no mask whatsoever. We're only asking for a choice. And why can't you be the school that takes the stand and does that? And you wanted the accuracy of these surveys? Well, maybe you should have sent out the survey accurately for us to take the survey correctly. You've done it with many other surveys prior. And I have one more question, because I've asked it almost every meeting. If this crazy Governor Hochul and mayor decide they want to mandate the vaccine for school, because she's pushing now for 5-year-olds to get vaccinated, which actually it's not a vaccine, because if you look up the technical term of a vaccine, yeah, so it's a shot. It does not prevent you from getting it or spreading it, so why are you forcing this on people if it does neither? There's no point in it. So my question to you guys is, if they happen to mandate that these children need to be vaccinated or given the shot to go to school, as a parent, what do we do? Do they have to be homeschooled? Are they going to be able to go virtually? What's going to be the outcome of that? Because that's never been answered for us either. So maybe, we can get some responses back would be great, because, we send emails and we don't get responses. So maybe someone can get us an answer, because it would be greatly appreciated.
Number 6? Number 6?
I'm here. Hi.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Christy Scarabino. Everybody here knows me. I've been here a really long time. I first wanted to address the board and ask them, I had emailed everyone here, including Linda Adams, asking if it's ever been looked into if the children could have their own representation. The district has a lawyer that represents the liabilities of this district as a corporation. The teachers union has a lawyer, but our children have no representation. Their special education rights aren't protected. Their physical needs aren't protected. Anything can be done to them as long as the union and this guy agree. They have no one protecting them. We pay the district to pay all these other people to protect you guys, to protect the teachers union, but nobody protects our kids. When my child needed special education, I had to hire someone to protect me in a meeting with you guys to get them services. How ridiculous is that? That I pay all this money for taxes for my kid to go to school here, and then I have to pay someone else to protect me in a meeting with people that I already pay. I mean, this is disgusting. The way this district is being run is disgusting. And for you to tell me or anybody else in this room who pays taxes where we can look and what we can say and what we can do is ridiculous. This is not China. Lee Kennedy, you have been a problem on this board 20 years. It's time for you to go.
I just want to address one thing so that you know. Tomorrow at 2 p.m., I have an appointment with the Director of Special Education, and thankfully, thank you, Christina Poppy, and the Assistant Super of Curriculum Interim, and she's been kind enough to have us sit down with me to go over a bunch of different things in special ed that I have questions and I want to look into. I will absolutely bring that up tomorrow and see what we come up with, okay? And also, just because I'm on this, thank you, Christina Poppy, thank you, Louise Berger, a director and a assistant super took us today, and I didn't get to thank them. And honestly, they've been doing a lot to try to help us newer board members understand and get involved. Number 7.
Are you gonna post those questions and answers?
I'll post on social media. Anyone who knows me knows I have no issue posting on social media anything. So I will have no issue posting it on social media where I'm allowed. I am blocked from some of the ConnectQuad sites, but the ones that allow me on their page, I will gladly give transparency. Number 7.
Number 8. Number 9.
Sorry, I had two more people in front of me. Hold on. Okay. Hi, my name is Lauren Capriola. Thank you to the board for giving parents the opportunity to make our voices heard tonight. I'm standing before you not only as a parent of a child in this district, but also as a speech pathologist with 15 years of experience servicing children in the school setting. I'm going to talk to you about what many people call just a mask. In the beginning of the pandemic, most people would have done anything being recommended to keep their children safe. After all, it was going to be 2 weeks to slow the spread. But here we are coming up to 2 years later, and the recommendations have become restrictions. Aren't we trying to teach children learning in your schools that throughout American history, fighting for our freedoms is how we preserve the right to get to fight for them? That is the way that changes have been made throughout history in this country. Abolishing slavery, the women's suffragette movement, the civil rights movement, etc., all have had their basis on a group of people fighting for them to have the same rights as everybody else. When our government has gotten too restrictive or tyrannical, we have had to stand up to be heard. The government's responsibility is to protect our rights, not restrict them. What I'm going to do now is report what I am seeing firsthand as a speech pathologist since returning from the lockdown in 2020. I am seeing children not understanding or completely misinterpreting verbal information provided by their teacher, as speaking with a mask on can misconvey the message they are trying to communicate. I am seeing children, especially those on the autism spectrum, not recognizing or expressing emotions correctly, as mask wearing prevents children from seeing facial expressions and learning how to perceive them. I am seeing children mispronouncing letters and sounds as they normally rely on the visual models made by their teachers in order to learn how to pronounce them correctly. Phonological processing abilities and oral language skills are important predictors of later literacy skills. Thus, the harms to language development described will have adverse consequences for literacy. For children whom English is a second language, these problems can be expected to be magnified. I am seeing children who are not being given the quality of therapy they were given prior to the New York State school mask mandates. It is difficult for IEP goals to be addressed. Children cannot hear me or see what I'm saying as I speak to them with a mask on. As adults, we find it hard to understand each other and often take down our masks, even in familiar contexts where it would be expected that we should be able to understand each other. I am seeing children not being allowed mask breaks all day long. Being uncomfortable all day with no relief allowed is likely the reason that children have become more restless, agitated, and distracted from academic instruction. It is child abuse to keep a mask on a child all day long without breaks. If any adult in this room or watching from home lowers their mask when they feel they need a break more often than just eating or taking a sip of their drink, then what you are asking our children to do is hypocritical. Whether you are for or against mask wearing in schools, I am standing up here for everyone's rights. The right to choose what we deem appropriate for our children, to make decisions about their health without the involvement from the government. If we continue to accept the unlawful restrictions and mandates of mask wearing without a say in the whole matter, as sure as I'm standing here today, we'll be having the same discussion about, as sure as I'm standing here today, we'll be having the same conversation in a few months. Only then, we will no longer be talking about masks. We will be talking about a shot, which is even more restrictive than, quote, just a mask. Thank you.
Number 10?
Hi, my name is Kim. I spoke here once before about the masks and the medical thing that's going on. What parents aren't getting, and this is where you guys, with your transparency, aren't letting them know, and what parents have to know is they're receiving funds from ESSR funding, okay, to a tune of $200 billion that the schools were getting, okay? And in the requirements for this funding, masks and vaccines are one of them. And that's what parents have to understand, okay? And what they're not telling you, which is the board members, that the school boards were named as the responsible party under the Nassau County Department of Health school guidelines. Boards are the ones who voted to adopt the masking, and they have the power to modify it or remove it. Okay? State agencies like the New York State Department of Ed, New York State Department of Health don't make laws, only regulations limited to their scope of authority. Laws have to be passed in the New York State Assembly and then signed. There is no masking laws. This is why the governor said in December that she cannot enforce it, and she was going to use New York State Education Department to pressure schools by holding state aid and state agencies to pressure businesses. The governor has no legal right to withhold aid from schools, which could hurt teachers and staff as well. The ESR funding, the school districts got $200 billion pocketbook. First they got, under the CARES Act, $25 billion to open up the schools and get the remote and everything else, kids on the learning. Then they got under the CARES Act in 2020, $200 billion, $3 billion for special ed funding, $850 million for outlining areas, $2.7 billion for non-public schools, Indians, tribes, homeless people, and whatnot. All of the availables have been available since the start. They had to come out with their building plan, okay, in order to get these funds. The funds run until 2024, okay? Your school board signed on, and the most important thing, remember, we were in a pandemic. It was a health problem, was to sustain the safety operations in the schools in order to open them, and that's what the funds are based on. Okay? So I'm going to explain to you in their regulations, they were required to have cleaning done, distancing, contact tracing, cohorts, pods, respiratory etiquette, masks, and vaccinations, okay? Hand washing. Where they fell short, and every district did, was the number one thing they were required to have, but they didn't do was ventilation, proper ventilation. Okay? You guys can talk all day about the science. They don't give a shit. It's the funding. Okay? So what happens is, with the ventilation, where they're in violation is, the most important thing is, they should have put air purifiers in the buildings, which would have maintained every one of these viruses whatsoever. The ones that are pushing for the mask, don't penalize the kids. Penalize the adults. If the teachers' union wants to wear masks, put the right mask on them, give them the N95 mask, and let them wear the mask instead of the kids. But we know it's all about funding, and that's why you're doing it. You have the power to take it off while you did your little vote or whatever you did. But the parents are empowered now, and we know publicly we can come after you for your surety bonds, your fidelity liability, whatever you want to call it. Okay? The only reason you won't serve tonight is because of the amicus brief that they're dealing with since today in court at 11 o'clock. Okay? You're all bondholders. You all hold $1 million in a bond. Okay? Who's got a $40,000 deductible? Who's got assets tagged to it? That bond is for the people so that we can come after you if you are breaking the laws. You are going against the legislative body. They're the only ones that can make the law, not these people right now that are coming up. So be aware. Okay? We now have the power. We now know the funding. I'll be foiling the district. I will be ripping through that like you can't believe. And the money that you did spend, if you didn't put any air purifiers, especially in this moldy building, okay, that was your first thing you did wrong. And everything that you did in your requirements, you removed the door washing, okay, and washing down the handrails. You remove the mask breaks in the building without letting the parents know. So if this was technically about a situation about health, that would have been handled. You want the kids to wash their hands, but yet you don't give them warm enough water to do it. Okay? The virus is an aerosol. If a kid goes into the bathroom and does not have succulation, pulling the air out, it's a live virus. So you were promoting these kids getting COVID. Okay? You did it with your contact tracing. You stopped your contact tracing because you know it wasn't working. These masks do not work. They do not work, and you keep promoting it. And everything you have in your requirements, you've changed and corrected except the ventilation.
Our taxes actually say she can say whatever she wants. Turn your mic off, shut up, and let her talk.
Can they yield Can somebody yield me your time? Will somebody yield me your time? Will somebody yield me their time?
Please, no shouting from the audience.
Can somebody yield me their time? Thank you. They're going to give me their time. Is that okay? Is that okay? I can have her time? Number 11. I'm right now. Okay? So what happened is, with all of your requirements that you put in this... Oh, you worried about your bonds now, Lynn? Lynn, you worried about your bonds now? Remember, when I put my claim in, it's only me and the bond company dealing with each other. And when I win it, all your financial stops. Everything. State, financial, everything stops. That's okay. I'm sorry. I'm going to go.
Listen to me. I'm not going to vote yes for a recess. But in return, I'm just asking everybody to be kind and allow people to speak.
Please, and please, no shouting from the audience. Everyone has a right to speak.
We're not going to vote yes. but you gotta listen to us because we are trying here. Everybody has a right to speak. Go get a number from security and you can gladly speak. But for those of us that are here, we want to hear you. We stay late, we let you speak more than 30 minutes. Just work with us here. You get 3 minutes. I know you're frustrated. Trust me, I'm frustrated. Just try to work with us. Come to the podium, speak your 3 minutes, and let's move from there.
And please, let's all be respectful to each other, no shouting, no screaming, please.
It's fine, it's fine, we still got a quorum, there's 3 of us still here, you got Mylan on the computer, but you got 3 in front of you. We're okay. Who's up for the next number? What was the next number?
The next number is 11.
Number's 11. So 11, can you please step up to the podium for 3 minutes and speak? And please, in the audience, allow her to speak or him to speak. Is there a number 11 going twice? Come on up.
I'm just going to back up everything that Kim said. And you guys all have been warned. It was left up to you to make the choice of masking or not masking. You guys chose to mask. Not all of you, but the vote was put in last month. You all came out and said that the masks have to stay on. All I know is that the parents are beyond now. The children know what's up. You guys got funding for everything. As long as you guys got your funding, I would like to know how much you got from the government. I asked this of Linda Adams probably 3-4 meetings ago, how much funding you got from the government. When we were out on the Zoom, this whole entire pandemic, I would like to know how much the school district got paid. Also, about the $60 million pool, the pool's been broken for how long? We got 2 new turf fields outside. I don't know how much millions of dollars that was. And we need a new roof. That's about wanting and needing. Right there proves to you. I didn't get a vote on about the turf fields. I didn't know anything about the turf fields until I was walking back there during the pandemic with my son and saw it being built. I'm like, what the hell is this? And my kids play baseball. Had no idea there was no vote put out there. Can somebody get me where you had spoken and voted on that and who voted on it? If the community had any say-so in that? Because now we need a roof and a $60 million pool. I just want you guys to, seriously, whatever Hochul says, we don't want mandates on our children, okay? Because you guys are the ones holding the ball. And they're sticking you guys out there to hold that ball, just so you know that.
I just have to say, it's not a $60 million pool. It's been said 3 times today. It's not a $60 million pool. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to calm things down just a little. The Disney trip, we just got the reminder today that we're going to get our refund back. November, December, January, we're in February. So the $850, it would be nice if we can have that back like tomorrow. We did get the reminder, that was very nice, with interest. I hope there's no fees because Connecticut decided to pull out, not the parents, not the students. Just to let you know, tons of other school districts are going the February break, gonna have a great time. I do have a kickline person. I don't have a cheerleader, so this is for them as well. All those poor cheerleaders, so many other school districts are going. I think Connecticut cheerleaders should be going as well. Just putting that out there. As far as emails, that survey, you guys, whoever totally dropped the bomb. I mean, that was awful. I didn't get it, then I got it, couldn't open it. My senior,
all honors, had a hard time opening it. Finally got it open. It was 2 questions. Really, just 2 questions. That's fine. Tonight, we should really know the answers. I think that's a very simple request. If someone can't be here, it should have been handed down to somebody else. Very simple. I had a senior last year that was more COVID. It's basically this year is a replay of my other child's last year. So I don't feel like we're moving forward at all. Scholarships. My son last year, he found out about scholarships in January. He had all of February to do them. My second child is a senior this year. Haven't gotten nothing. I actually got information from another senior on Facebook, a girl, very sweet. She answered my question. Call the guidance, they have no answers. We should know about the scholarships because last year they were due in March. Well, March is going to be here very quickly. I would like to know about the scholarships like tomorrow. So the February break, my senior can work on them because there's so many. Emails need to get a little better. Communication, always been a problem. You guys talk about a board retreat. I mean, a waste of our taxpayers because I honestly think it's not going to help any of you. You got to want to work together and get along, okay? Students are actually doing a better job. Thank you.
I want to ask Leslie, in terms of tonight, if tomorrow I would like to advocate for an email to go out to the public with those survey answers. I know we have the survey answers.
I agree. I didn't know we had them, and I didn't know that you had them.
No, I don't have them. I'll tell you what I have. What I have is, after speaking to the superintendent, and I think you were on that call with me about something board related, I got a phone call, and I asked the question, and what I was told was at the time, and again, this is all going off my memory of what was said, there was 650 people, I think, that at that time did it, because it was a few days ago, and at that point, we were at 55 or 59% strongly agree to 29 or something like that % who strongly disagreed. My issue was, what was the disagree and what was the agree? Because that was the big problem that I had, and this board can tell all of you, I advocated very strongly against a 5 scale. Very simple. For 2 questions, a 5 scale was going to present the problem because it wasn't going to give you true numbers. It was going to play a game with, hey, I strongly agree and I agree. They should be together. Because I don't really, no offense, if you strongly agree or agree, it really doesn't matter. You agree. So it just makes the numbers look skewed, in my opinion. So I said that, and they can all say that, Ryan, you're laughing, but...
When you said skewed.
You like that, right? But how many times did I email and text? You had to get sick of it, right? No, tell the truth, you had to get sick of it.
So if that's the will of the board, I'll make sure that I get the answers to the survey and an email will go out to the community.
That email, I'm advocating, and I'd like to make a motion, and Brian's my number 2. I'm your number 3.
I want the answers to that survey also.
Awesome.
And also, can I just add one thing? I have asked about the scholarships also, because I also have a senior, and I've had a lot of senior parents contact me, and I have been informed that there is an email going out tomorrow from Mr. Sidman with details about the scholarship committee.
Number 13? 14?
Good evening. My name is Jason Koch D'Ambrosio. Myself and my family, we're brand new to the district. I've got 5 kids. 3 are special needs, ranging from moderate delays to autism spectrum disorder. So far, we've been very happy with the district. The faculty has been fantastic. But as a dad of 5, I've learned all too well that sometimes you have to say things that are absolutely obvious. And we, the parents, have a right to be the loudest voice in the room when it comes to our children's education. So, as it pertains to masks, enough is an absolute understatement. Okay, it's not because New Jersey's doing it now, not because Connecticut's doing it now. It's because it was wrong from day one. When everything started, obviously we needed to take measures to keep all of us safe. But 2 years later, we went from measures to keep our kids safe to mandates that harm our children every single day. I point to the Browns University study of the impact of COVID-19 protocol, where it shows that 23%, there was a 23% drop in scores measuring intelligence quotient since the start of the pandemic. Verbal, motor, cognitive development in these critical areas have been stifled. These are critical years for these children, not just mine. So I'd love to stand up here and say, tomorrow, take it off all of the special education kids, but here's the bottom line. It is not just impacting these kids, okay? It's not just impacting our special needs kids. Not only are we further delaying them, our neurotypical kids are suffering as well. My daughter, coming from the previous district, was confident. She was the president of her class, and she's still an awesome kid, still really confident. But when it came to Freedom Day, she had anxiety, hoping that she wasn't going to get in trouble. I had to fight with her to take the mask off going to school because she was afraid that she was going to get in trouble. And countless other parents on social forums said the exact same thing. So we, the parents, are not sick and tired of this. We're done with it, okay? We're not voicing our gripes. We are communicating our demands. Parents' choice is the only choice. In Albany, our public education system has completely let us down in certain areas and facets. I would like to see this district lead in the way of transparency. And that's not only transparency in the way of how we deal with COVID, okay? But I'm going to voice it right now, and I'm sure we'll table it because it's going to be next there. Transparency in curriculum is a must going forward as well. So right now, our trust is broken, but I want to thank you personally because I know there's a lot of people here that work very hard. I also know to volunteer in that capacity is something that is not easy. And I think the good that is going to come out of this all, it's the last thing I'm going to say, is that perhaps we didn't pay enough attention before, but we, the parents, are now going to pay attention going forward every step of the way. And it may have taken this to do it, but we're ready to do it. Thank you.
Number 15? Number 16? 17? Is anyone, okay.
Hello. So I agree with everybody who's making these comments about masks. I'm going to make one small comment about masks. One of my children has been struggling through all this. The day that they were not allowed, they could choose to wear a mask, I actually got a message from one of their teachers that says, I have not seen your child this happy in a very long time. So I was glad to have gotten the message from the teacher, but saddened by what it meant. Beyond the masks, everybody has said it, I would like to know when the middle school and the high school are going to get cafeteria tables back, okay? If you've walked through the school cafeterias at lunchtime, you know that there is nobody socially distancing except for the kids that are already distanced from the other kids, okay? The only ones that are actually distanced are the ones that are already the loners, that are already having a hard time socializing, that are already having a hard time making friends, that may have had those issues before the pandemic and that the pandemic just made worse. And now you sit there in a cafeteria with these little 3 and 4 foot tables that luckily the kids are allowed to move around and be able to have conversations with each other, except the kids that don't already have the friends, that aren't as social, that aren't able to go out there and be outgoing, okay? So what you now do, when you had the longer table, they sat down at a table and even if they weren't necessarily with their friends, they were at a crowd, and most kids eventually will talk to someone who's next to them, or at least that kid who doesn't have all those friends feels like they're part of a crowd. Now with these individual tables, you have islands in the middle of the cafeteria, and those kids already know that they're struggling. They already know they don't have friends. And all you are doing is putting a spotlight on them in the middle of a cafeteria, in the middle of the middle school and the high school with, I don't know, how many other kids sit in the cafeteria in the middle school? 100, 200? How many kids sit in the middle of the high school? A couple hundred? So now you take them, everybody already knows. And you just put the spotlight right on top of them that they are alone. Okay? It's so demeaning. It's so emotional. Like to see it is so disheartening. And they already don't, some children have a harder time socializing and being outgoing than others. And we're literally saying to them, oh, well, too bad. Let's make sure everybody knows it this way. And if you weren't sure yourself, you're really going to know it, because now you're really going to know that nobody is talking to you. No one's looking at you. No one's looking to come over to you because you have that little 3-foot table and they don't have to move it. Okay?
I just want you to know that me and Lee went to see the lunchrooms, right, Lee? And I was highly against the whole thing. I understand we need safety, security, we need help and all that, but at this point, I'm right with you.
And it's not happening anyway, because the kids that have friends are grouping together anyway, which is fine with. I have no problem.
The matter is, we need to gradually move towards normalcy. And people need to start to realize that, regardless, and some things we just have to do.
Yeah.
It's for the kids' mental health more than it's for anything else. And
Absolutely.
people gotta start to realize that.
And
When I was in lunchroom, I saw a child.
it is, it's traumatizing.
By herself, I approached one of the administrators and I questioned it. I went up and down every aisle and I said, that child looks like they're alone. That child is, I'm concerned.
Listen, I gotta give Lee credit. She did.
Right.
She walked up and she said to me, Jackie, I'm gonna go talk to that kid, and I'm gonna go talk to that kid. And I said, I'm gonna start moving tables again.
Right,
So, we sit here, we get beat up, I get beat up all the time, I'm used to it. But we really care about the kids. We really do what we can do. And so what you're saying, I'm aware and I feel those feelings. And I have been in the lunchroom and I have pointing out kids because I don't think it's right.
Right, and so if we could.
It hurts me to see that the child alone, but let me just say, now, the professionals in the building answered me in some of the cases. He's alone because he chooses to be alone. This is how he is. Or, this child only has one friend, that one friend is not here today. These are things we're hearing.
Right.
So, but I went through those schools and I asked, because if I see a child like this walking down the hallway, I'm upset, because that's something's wrong with that child. I know that, and I question that.
Right, and so you hit, a point. That child does choose to be alone because, again, for a child that already is socially awkward and, a lot of them in middle school are, okay? A child that already has a hard time connecting, making friends, is not outgoing. Of course they're going to choose to be alone because it is easier to be alone than it is to be, what? Okay, well, the times that I walked into the cafeteria, there's been more. But just to say, children in general that are choosing to be alone are going to choose to be alone because it is easier than to constantly get denied in front of their face. So it's easier to say, no, I want to sit by myself than to be able to verbally say, but nobody wants to sit next to me. Okay? So at least if you have the cafeteria tables, you push some kind of gathering that slowly develops over time.
I want to give credit though, really, and I have to give it to the high school, because I personally, as a parent, have been notified of things like this, and they have the social workers have really stepped it up, and they are paying attention.
Well,
I'm just letting you know, I mean, I specifically got a call, so I know they are paying attention to who is sitting by themselves. I know principals and assistant principals are going in there and trying to talk to these kids, and I did think that was nice.
I appreciate that. With all due respect, at some point, the only way the kids are going to make friends is if they're hanging out with other kids. You know, it doesn't make them feel any less isolated to have grown adults come over and say, "Why are you sitting by yourself?" Okay? I mean, like, and that, like, the other kids can't hear it.
Credit what credit's due, that they are at least trying.
No, I agree, and I'm not saying that the teachers aren't trying and that the social workers are not trying, but I'm saying we need cafeteria tables back.
We will advocate for it. Reverend got it.
All right, I wanted to make one more comment, not about tables. I know my time ran out. It was separate about this. While they're doing the budgets and everything, I don't know who we pay to run the school website, but it is abysmal. You cannot find any information. 3/4 of the information is old, okay? I was searching around. My child was trying to print something for school, which for now my understanding is the Chromebooks won't print on a home printer. Okay, so she was trying to print something. She was having technical difficulties. I know that we have an email address that someone was supposed to call, email to get answers. I couldn't find the email. I have hundreds of my own emails. So I went on the school website. I said, it's got to be here somewhere. Somewhere there's got to be the information that we were emailed as to who I email and what times they're open so that I can, you know, reach out to someone and see if I could get this resolved to my daughter's homework. Couldn't find it anywhere. I'm clicked on every single link. Somewhere buried, I found the chain of command letter, which I don't know if that's new added to the website or if that was there previously. If I can't resolve this, you know, speak to this person first, and then if that one doesn't resolve, go to this. That alone was buried on the website. You can't find anything. You can't. I mean, it's just horrible.
That's good, we're going to write that up, but, and I'll guarantee we're going to look at it because that's important.
And including adding in the teachers' email addresses. The school district pays for the school email addresses. No.
Email addresses is a union issue that we have to address with the teachers.
Okay, yeah, I'm, so please do. I don't understand why it would be a union issue. I'm not looking for anybody's personal email address, but for the school district email address that my taxes pay for.
Everybody's email address is their first initial and their last name at ccseli.org. I recognize what you're saying. I agree that the
Right.
listing somewhere, but right now it's a union issue.
Right, so I understand that, but that also takes into account that, one, I need to know the teacher's first name, okay, or how to spell the last name. I could tell you for someone with a difficult last name, mine gets spelled incorrectly constantly. Also, there are some teachers that have the same first initial and last name and have numbers, and I wouldn't necessarily know that.
Recognize that, and we will look into that.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. 18, 19?
I'd like to know what discussions are being had in regards to our opening plan, our reopening plan. According to ARP ESSER guidelines, the reopening plan is to be reevaluated every 6 months with the community involvement, which is us. At the August 24th Board of Ed meeting, parents were expecting to actually provide their input, and we were shown a slideshow that was already done with the reopening plans, and now we are at a point where at almost 6 months later, is there going to be any parental input, maybe a committee, anything? According to the funding guidelines, we're supposed to have input. Okay. Next thing. So we know there's no point in denying it. We know that Governor Hochul's metrics are basically to have every single child vaccinated in order to attend public school. So what is this district's plans? We've heard that you don't support this maneuver. In fact, even our board president was asked at the time when she was elected as board president by Ms. Augulus that whether or not she supports this, mandating it, and she said no, would not be proper. So what are you going to do when all of these children leave the district? Are you going to try to fight for us to stay? Are you going to allow this to happen for our children? I know you're against it, so what are you going to do? Are you that held down by money? Okay. All right. Well, in all of my visits here, which have been many, I've actually never spoken about the damage I've personally seen within my own home. My oldest son, who's a sixth grader, he's a typical child. I don't believe he would have been ready for sixth grade anyway, but last year's restrictions on fifth grade did nothing to help him. There was no coming together day. There was nothing to help the transition. So I would hope that for this year's fifth graders, you allow that because it's been really tough on these sixth graders. It's a huge year for them, and it's not easy. Another thing that he's experiencing, and I do want to thank Sonia for bringing this up, he's experiencing difficulties adjusting, but the situation and the staff at the middle school is awful. Unfortunately, he has been singled out, which is probably a result of my own outspoken nature, but the cafeteria situation is something like a prison, okay? The two student table setups and the warden-like behavior of some of the staff have made him actually dread lunch. And what's even worse is that for some reason there's actually no policy in place for children who have a lunch buddy that is absent for a period of time. Over a month ago, I learned that my son's lunch buddy was absent for a few days. He was eating alone. All right, I reached out to guidance and they tried to do something, but he didn't want to move. He was nervous, he didn't know what to do. Now it's 6 weeks and he's eating by himself. He is in sixth grade, okay? He's not a child that wants to be alone. He doesn't know what to do. As much as I've told him, try to move together with other children. My niece is trying to help him. It is not a good situation at all. So I really, really would like a discussion about this, a vote to just put those tables back together. The teachers, I doubt the staff room looks like that. Okay, and our children are separated, and I know that she touched on this, so, and I thank you again, because there's also nothing in the law, in any of the funding laws that state, I know they state masks and everything else, but there's nothing in there that states cafeterias must look like that. And it is my belief that not every single school district, every single school in the district has their tables set up that way. You gotta fix this. This is crazy. And the last thing, now that I'm out of time, is I would like your permission to hand in a copy of my police report regarding harassment from community members and our Board of Ed president. I'd like to hand that to the head of security. Am I allowed to do that? A copy of my police report? Thank you very much.
I can make a motion to adjourn? We're way past 30 minutes, sorry. Sorry, the board said no, not just me. Everyone says no, they want to go home to their families. Make a motion to adjourn?
I was just going to ask about the social psychologist, if there's anything that happened with that.
I make a motion to adjourn?
In charge, their investigation.
Well, that's personnel, we don't talk about personnel.
No, well, we want to know as a community, if he's taking pictures of the children, we need to know if there's being an investigation.
We don't talk about personnel.
Okay, we'll have to talk about the
Process.
children and have them come in.
Right? All in favor? Aye. Aye.
There's a question back there.
Motion carried.